Hey, my name is Ghosty, and today I want to show you how I do a simple character turnaround. If you don't know what a character turnaround is, it's a reference for animators and other artists for when they draw said character. I am only doing the three main sides of a person, which are the front, back, and profile, otherwise known as side. The character I'm doing today is one of my OCs. This OC is my favorite one to draw, and his name is Tyler. Don't ask why he's my favorite, I just find him fun. Quick disclaimer, I am by no means an art teacher, and I don't speak for all artists. I am still learning, so I encourage constructive criticism. Just be nice about it, please. Alright, to start off, we're gonna talk about Tyler's body type, which, as you'll see, is a square that slowly gets smaller as you go down. In the beginning, it was a small, very not prominent hourglass, but I decided to change it because, of his eating disorder that he has. I gave him an eating disorder because in the beginning of the story, he was just gonna be a very narcissistic person who was rude and stereotypical, and then the story developed and I gave him narcissistic personality disorder itself. The reason for his eating disorder is not only because of narcissistic personality disorder, which I will be calling NPD from now on, it's also because of his constant need for validation in order to feel perfect and to be perfection itself. As I stated before, the reason I gave him narcissistic NPD, was because in the beginning of the story, it was just going to be a regular school where he was one of the mean girls, and he was really narcissistic, and he was always talking about himself. It was just a bunch of stereotypes. But then the story developed into being a mental hospital / high school where he was actually struggling with a mental disorder. Let's talk about the setting for a second. As stated before, it's a mental hospital / school. It is a boarding school for high schoolers who have major mental disorders or mental struggles. It's taught by therapists and special ed teachers specifically, while they are getting their high school education in a way that will help them actually learn. They are also doing therapy, like group therapy, individual therapy, and learning little exercises and stuff for them to deal with everything they're going through. Before you ask, yes, I have been to a mental hospital. I wasn't inpatient myself, and no, I didn't actually put myself in there just so I could get research done. I actually it was necessary for me to be in there. I was genuinely mentally unstable. Anyways, I took notes while I was there. I have a full notebook of things that happened while I was there, and why, and different things we did, so that I can get the most accurate experience of a mental hospital out of it. But if I get anything wrong, just note it's because it's my experience, not yours. Just take that into account. So there's an idea of the setting. Now let's get back to Tyler. What are some facts about him? Because let's get into some fun stuff before we get into the sad stuff. He is into the occult, mainly because he was taught that it was taboo, and he tries to keep it a secret from his dads, but they know. They know. Another thing is that he's very interested in dinosaurs for some reason. I haven't figured out the reason yet, but I know I want him to be interested in dinosaurs. I've already designed some clothes to have dinosaurs on them, like pajamas and bathing suits and all of that. Now, let's get into the more sad and uncomfortable stuff about Tyler. Mainly, why he was admitted. He was admitted because of his eating disorder, which you can be put in a mental hospital for. It's possible. So if you have an eating disorder, figure it out. That was a joke. I'm sorry, that was a joke. Anyways, he was also in there for self-harm and suicidal ideation, but not an attempt, just ideation. You may be wondering why I haven't told you any symptoms of his NPD yet. That's because I'm afraid of people self-diagnosing. I'm not saying that self-diagnosing is wrong. I'm saying it's bad that if you don't do enough research on it. Like, if you don't know enough about this disorder and you're just like, oh, I relate to some of the stuff and now I have it. That's not how it works. You need to do a lot of research. And after that, if you feel like you have it, you still need to continue researching it and try not to spread misinformation about it, because that just makes the stigma of mental health even worse. So, with that warning out of the way, let's get into some symptoms for Tyler. One of the symptoms is inflated ego, which pretty much everyone knows about when talking about narcissistic personality disorder, or just narcissists in general. If you don't know what inflated ego means, first of all, where have you been? Everyone has an inflated ego nowadays, but for him it's worse. But if you don't know what it means, an ego is a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Basically, if you have a inflated ego, it means you feel like you're very important. And that can be a problem sometimes. Another symptom that a lot of people know about is a sense of entitlement, which means they believe that they are entitled to a lot of things that they aren't, pretty much. If you don't know what entitlement is, the definition of entitlement that I'm looking for specifically is, that I found, is the belief that one is inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. That's what a sense of entitlement is. So, being narcissistic with this problem means that he believes he is owed a lot of things, but he's not. He's not. This next symptom is something that I personally struggle with as well, which is a lack of empathy. If you don't know what empathy is, it is the ability to sense other people's emotions, coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling. So, you know the saying, put yourself in their shoes? Yeah, that's empathy, pretty much. Which I never understood. So, if you lack empathy, oftentimes in relationships, you can become abusive. I haven't yet. Just keyword is yet, because I already know I might, which is worrying. But yes, you can often become abusive, and because of that, most people don't want to be in relationships with you, which is why you don't have many friends if you lack empathy most of the time, or you fake having empathy. I don't know how that would work, and you have a lot of friends. Another symptom is that he cannot recognize wrong or unhealthy actions in themselves. So, if he's doing something wrong and someone tells him that he's wrong, he will be very confused and be like, what? How is what I'm doing wrong? And then they'll explain it and he'll be like, I still don't get it, but This next one is two symptoms wrapped in one. So, if he does end up in a relationship, he will often try to have the quote-unquote perfect relationship from the start, but he will comment on problems or imperfections with significant others or friends or just people he's in relationships with, which is why he's not in relationships much. So he also enjoys praise, but he can't take criticism. So he can't improve really unless he himself wants to improve, which is why he won't get much praise unless he's just inherently good at something or lies about it, which we'll get into in a minute. So in order to get praise, he will often talk themselves up, but he can't actually do what he says he can do. He will also other times try to make others feel bad for him. So, for example, his roommate has insomnia. like most people, but it's worse than usual. We might get into that if I do a part 2. Anyways, so his roommate has insomnia. So in order to make others feel bad for him, he will act like he always has trouble sleeping, when he usually actually sleeps pretty well. Even though he's a terrible person, he usually sleeps pretty well. Some other small symptoms that he has is the fact that they like to work in group activities, and he could care less about other people's hobbies or interests. Like I said, he's a terrible person, but I love him. Now that we've talked about Tyler a little bit, you may be wondering, Ghosty, how do I make characters like you do? And I'm just gonna tell you, don't, because I do it terribly. How I make characters is very interesting. So what I'll do is I'll use generators for names, because I cannot figure out names. So I literally just put a name, some interest, put like a last name, some interests, and all that in a generator. And then it will come up with a first and middle name for me, because I really like knowing them like actual people. It's very important to me, at least, that I know them as if they're my friends, and a little more, because I need to know their backstories and stuff. So that's how I figure out their names, but what about their clothes? Again, I will just spin a wheel or something for aesthetics, and I'll pick an aesthetic that I like from that wheel, and I will look it up, and if I really like how the clothes look, like I did with Tyler, I will give him those clothes, or them those clothes. Sometimes I already have an idea of clothing planned out. Most of the time I don't, but yeah, that's how I find clothes. Now, we shall talk about colors. Like, skin colors, and, like, eye colors, hair colors, all of that, color schemes. So, how do I figure those out? Good question. How do I figure those out? Easy. For skin colors, I will usually use something. I've been on Tumblr for a while. That was a red flag. Anyways, I've been on Tumblr for a while, and I found something called the Flesh Cloud. Pretty much everyone, artist knows about it. That's been on Tumblr before. But the Flesh Cloud is just a little cloud of a bunch of skin tones, and I close my eyes usually and I would pick one, and usually the skin tone would come out a little dirty, but I would fix it, tweak it a little bit, and it would look nice. But nowadays I use cubes. Yeah. I'll throw a picture up on screen, but that's what I use. I just use these cubes, I close my eyes, I pick a side, and if I don't land on a side, I put the eyedropper on, and whichever one it's closest to, I will just pick that one. Now that we've talked about skin tones, let's talk about how I figure out, like, the color schemes of these characters. So, the colors I usually use, mostly, are complementary or monochrome. They're mostly complementary, but there's the occasional time I will use monochrome. If you don't know, complementary colors are basically just, you pick one color, you go to the opposite side of the color wheel, and that's the other color you use. Like, as you see on Tyler, I used red and green as a hair and eye color mainly. And yeah, that's complementary. And monochrome is basically you pick one color on the color wheel and you just use shades of that color. I can't think of a character off the top of my head, but if I do, I will put them on screen. So, by now, you might be wondering, how do I figure out what disorders or illnesses to give them? First of all, I decided after I designed the character. I don't like to draw a character then figure out what they have, because that would just be stereotyping and that would be horrible. So, like Tyler, I figured out what his personality would be, and then the story developed, and he turned into the having NPD. Like, I designed him way before that. As you can see, he doesn't really have the looks of what most people think a narcissist looks like. Another example is I have a character, her name is Gwen, and she is very nerdy. She's, I don't know how to explain it. She's just very nerdy, she tutors people, she's smart, but no, she does not have OCD, no. She has schizoid personality disorder. Subverted your expectations there, didn't I? I made you think that she would have OCD or some sort of disorder where she, there's a stereotype where they're smart. I can't think of any others than OCD. But no, I designed her and I was like, okay, let's subvert expectations. You already have a nerdy character that has OCD, but it's actually OCD. It's not just the stereotype of OCD. It's actually OCD. He has everything in order, he can't talk about sex, religion, or harming others, he can't overtly counts things, he excessively tells people to do lots of cleaning, he orders things from places in specific orders, that kind of thing, actual OCD. His name is Connor, by the way, just so you know. But Gwen, on the other hand, is, no, I decided to give her, schizoid personality disorder, because I thought it would be fun, because in, stereotypes, most nerds are very, how do I say this without being mean? Introverted. And they don't talk to people, and they don't really have friends, I guess? So I decided, hey, a nerd that has these types of symptoms would be pretty cool. So, a lot of people would probably relate to her a little bit. So, I mean, obviously, people with schizoid personality would relate to her. But, some nerds might relate to her because she's a very, indifferent to social norms and all of that. But anyways, yeah, that's Tyler right there, and my quick character turnaround. If you made it this far in the video, I'm very surprised, because I could not deal with my voice for that long. But I have to, because I'm editing this video and all of that. But thank you so much if you made it this far. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, but only if you want to, of course. If you like what I was drawing today, you can check out my Instagram and see actual artworks and not just character turnarounds. My Instagram will be on screen right now. Don't forget to have a good day, and again, thank you for watching. Bye!